So it's official. The LA Clippers will be facing the Dallas Mavericks in the first round of the playoffs in a 4v5 matchup. And last year, this was one of the more entertaining series, and we're going to get a part 2 to that matchup. And I think this series will be close, so in today's video, I'll be discussing who I think will win this series, the Clippers or the Mavericks. The way this is going to work is that I'm going to give some reasons to why the Mavericks can beat the Clippers, and some reasons to why the Clippers can beat the Mavericks, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to come to a conclusion to who I think will actually win the series. But before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want weekly NBA content, and help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers. I'm really close. And comment on this video, start a conversation with me as I do respond to all comments, and play that intro. So to start the video off, I'm going to give a reason to why I think the Clippers could beat the Mavericks. And the first reason is simply because of how elite the Clippers are on offense. As during the regular season, they had the 4th best ranked offense, and that's obviously a huge advantage, especially in the postseason, because if you can score the ball as well as the Clippers can, it's definitely a positive thing. And the Clippers are a team that's filled with a bunch of great offensive players, as obviously they have Kawhi Leonard, one of the best players in the league, who's a guy who always steps up his game in the postseason on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. They have Paul George, who although has disappointed in the playoffs the last few seasons, he still is a threat on the court, and I think this season will be a bit different. But even if he's not playing well, he's still a threat on the court just because of how great of a shooter he is. And outside of their star players, they have guys who are fantastic shooters, as they have guys like Luke Kennard, Marcus Morris, Patrick Beverley, Serge Ibaka, Nicholas Batum, and Terrence Mann. Those are all guys who can hit three-pointers consistently, and that just makes this team so scary because they can put out lineups with 5 players on the court who can shoot the ball at a great level. And that just gives a lot of space to Kawhi and Paul George to do their thing. I think their games will be very offensively oriented, and I can see some games where the Clippers just get on fire from 3 and blow out Mavericks. And a lot of their shooters are veterans and older players, so I don't think they will fall off too drastically in the postseason and randomly start missing open threes. So I think if the Clippers are going to win the series, they're going to have some great offensive games, and I would expect that to happen. But in the series, the Clippers won't be the only good offensive team, as the Dallas Mavericks are also one of the best offensive teams in the league, as they're a team that can get just as on fire as the Clippers can. Because this Dallas roster was ranked the 9th best offensive team in the regular season, and I think they could have been a top 5 or 7 offense if they didn't struggle so much with injuries. But nonetheless, this is a Dallas team that has Luka Doncic, who is an offensive superstar, one of the 8 best players in the NBA, as he can score 30 points, grab 10 rebounds, and dish out 10 assists on a regular basis. And in this series, I would expect him to dominate, since last time they faced the Clippers in the playoffs, he did this, and this year he's even better, so I would expect him to be great. They also have a guy in Kristaps Porzingis who last season only played 2 or 3 out of the games in the series, and in the games he played, he was absolutely torturing the Clippers, and he was playing like a true all-star, but then he wasn't able to play because of a knee injury. But this season, he's healthy, and in my opinion, if he plays this whole series, and if he plays it at a high level, which I definitely think he is capable of, I can see the Mavericks legitimately winning the series. But if Kristaps doesn't play like an all-star, they won't win the series, but if he does, they have a legitimate chance. The Mavericks also have a bunch of role players who can shoot the ball at a good level, and guys like Jalen Brunson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Josh Richardson, JJ Redick, Maxi Kleber, and a few others. So a reason why the Mavericks will win the series, if they do, will be because of their great offense. And the Mavericks are a team that can counteract the Clippers' amazing offense with their own fantastic offense. And that could definitely help them win the series. The second reason I believe the Clippers can beat the Dallas Mavericks is the fact that the Mavericks are a pretty bad offensive team. And this obviously goes very well in the Clippers' favor, since the Clippers are a great offensive team that often has the ball moving a lot and looks for the open shooter, which they have many of. And even against a good defense, I think they're their offense would be able to work, but against a bad defense like the Mavs, I think it will flourish, as the Mavericks have the 20th ranked defense in the league this season, which is definitely far from ideal. Also, the Mavericks don't really have any defender who I think could give Kawhi Leonard legitimate problems, and they have no defender who I think could give Paul George legitimate problems, meaning those two are going to have to play bad because of themselves, not the defenders, which is definitely not a good thing to have, since Kawhi Leonard is one of the best postseason players in NBA history ever since he became a star. And whereas Paul George often chokes in the postseason, I just have a feeling that this season is going to be different and he's going to play excellent. So I see no chance of the Clippers struggling offensively at any point this series, unless they just get cold and miss open shots. But it won't be because of Dallas's offense, which definitely is something that will key into whether or not they win the series or not. The second reason I believe the Dallas Mavericks can beat the Clippers is the fact that, as I said last season, Luka Doncic absolutely dominated the Clippers, and Kristaps Porzingis also dominated the Clippers in the games that he played. And I think those two will be a huge reason why the Mavs will win if they do, since to me, it's kind of clear that the Clippers won't be able to lock down either of them. Since if we're being honest, I would have expected a team of like the Clippers filled with guys like Kawhi, Paul George, Marcus Morris, and Patrick Beverley, along with a bunch of other solid defenders, to be good enough to stop Luka, but last season showed me that he truly can't be stopped by them. No matter what, that's just a testament to how great Doncic is. I think Doncic will be absolutely dominant in the series, which will obviously increase the chances of the Mavericks winning the series. And Kristaps Porzingis on the other end, I think he will have a good series. I think he'll have one or two bad games, but he'll have some really big games that will help the Mavericks win. Because although Serge Ibaka sounds like he would be a great matchup on Porzingis, I simply think he's too slow at his old age, and Porzingis has the height advantage. But there definitely is a chance I'm wrong about the Porzingis one, and that the Clippers with their new coach can make a scheme to defend him better and even defend Luka better than they did last season. But I also think there's a legitimate chance that the Clippers cannot guard either of them, and if they win the series, it will definitely be off the back of Porzingis and Doncic playing amazing. The third reason I believe the Clippers can beat the Mavericks is the fact that I believe Paul George will have a good series. It's kind of obvious that Kawhi Leonard's going to perform well because he's Kawhi Leonard at the end of the day, but Paul George is definitely a question. But I think he's going to come into this postseason playing fantastic, maybe even better than Kawhi. And if Paul George is playing like a superstar, then the Clippers are probably not going to lose this series. But don't get it twisted, there is a legitimate chance that Paul George plays bad in this series, but I honestly think he's going to play very well, and if he is going to choke in the postseason, it's going to be in the second or the third round, not the first. The third reason I believe the Dallas Mavericks can beat the LA Clippers is the fact that in the series, the Mavericks will have the superior coach, and in the playoffs, coaching is something that really matters, since the coach has to define many factors in the game, like who should be put in at a specific time, who should guard who, what defensive scheme should you run, what offensive scheme should you run, along with many other things. And the Mavericks head coach in Rick Carlisle is significantly better than the Clippers coach in Tyronn Lue. But I have to give Tyronn Lue some credit. I used to think he was a terrible coach, but I now think he's a slightly above average coach. But Rick Carlisle is a top 5 or 6 coach in the league, and if the Mavericks are going to win the series, a big reason will be because of the defensive scheme he runs and just the adjustment he makes, and the fact that he will outcoach Tyronn Lue in this series. And in the postseason, coaching can make or break whether or not you win the series. But to conclude the video, I believe the LA Clippers will win this series in 6 games. I think it will be a very close series, and I could honestly see Dallas potentially winning it. I just wouldn't bet on it, and if I'm being honest, I would bet more money on this series going to 7 games rather than 5 games. So I think the Clippers will win because I feel like their offense will be clicking against the Mavericks defense, and I think Kawhi and Paul George will play great. But at the same time, the series will be close because of Luka Doncic and Porzingis playing at a high level. But regardless, I'll definitely be cheering for the Mavericks in the series, and I hope they win. But I make my videos unbiased, so my unbiased opinion is that the Clippers will win in 6 games. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know if you agree or disagree with what I said in this video. Drop a like on this video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want weekly NBA content and to reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers. And comment on this video to the conversation with me, as I do respond to all of my comments. And I'm out.